Well, Min was saying about FPS, so might as well kind of relate it a bit with Breath of the Wild. It runs on 60 FPS. It can hit 60 FPS, I think, when you hook it up on the dock, meaning on the projecting of the TV with HDMI. And I believe whenever you use the console only, the handheld, I think it would only run like 30 FPS, something like that. Okay, so for me, less technical for now. For me, it's for me to take some break. So let's have some software engineering lessons from Legend of Zelda, mainly Breath of the Wild, right? Okay, next, I have basically here, it says acquiring tools early pays off down the road, right? So, in any Zelda game, you want to grab tools before you venture out and explore and tackle on a lot of the quest trials, right? And as you grab more tools, you now can do more things efficiently, right? You can now tackle problems um, with a process, right? Again, example would be if you have a sword, you're good with close range, right? But what if your enemy is like has a big reach? So you now want to try a spear, right? What if it's flying? Those are not gonna work. You have to get a bow and arrow, right? So as we try to relate this for software engineer first, right? First with Legend of Zelda, having the right tools. One of the benefit is you can finish off enemies faster, right? Same goes with software engineering. If you're spending a lot of time doing something the same thing over and over, you can basically create a script out of it, right? Like a Python, a Bash, do some automation, or maybe get a framework, get a plugin. Let's say you have your VS Code, and you can run some code, sure, but are you writing it the correct way? Does it have a structure? And now you download a plugin, let's say a linter, right? So that kind of helps you be more productive and spend more time finishing quest, or in this case around finishing building the features or fixing the bug instead of like dealing with a lot of nuances, right? Also, like when we when you go into a team, most of the time it's such a pain to basically get your development environment up and running. So again, for the DevOps people, they should be doing this scripts automation or containerization. So once the developer comes there day one, they can just work on stuff instead of like fixing the environment. Okay. Next, work on tasks in the order that makes sense, right? So if you played Super Mario, it's like you finish a stage, you try to find the princess and save her, right? Same goes with Zelda. So with Zelda, the typical fashion is you go to trials, you finish dungeons, you finish the mini bosses, and then you finish the main boss, which is Calamity Ganon in this case, and then you save the princess, Zelda, right? So how does it relate? Um, for the software engineers, you basically want to have a process, right? You want to specify the requirements first. You model your data. Now you can write your queries, load data, and test, right? You can't just write queries right away, right? You can't just test without even knowing what the customer wants. And then going back to the process flow, you have to always try to figure out how things work, how it goes from point A to point B and point B to point C, right? Because right now, there's a lot of tools. I would say there's a lot of advanced tools that we're using that we don't know, and a lot of things are abstracted away from us, what we call magic, right? So it looks like it's magic, but if you do try to study the underlying technology of where it came from, it will become you would become more better in understanding newer technologies that comes, right? Because some people would say that will basically learn this new technology without going deep, and learn another technology and don't go deep, and that's gonna be harder for you to learn overall. So get the underlying common concepts and make sure you got that down. And again, in software development as well, you do have this process. Okay. Next, multiple ways to solve a problem. So for those who play games, like just in this picture, an example, the the um, the problem you're trying to solve in this puzzle is you want to pull switch on and switch off so that you connect electric currents, right? In this case, this player, what he did is basically he grabbed electrical weapons and just put them. So he kind of like bootstrapped in, right? So again, as engineers and problem solvers, there's multiple ways to solve a problem. However, there's always the thing that we have to think about: trade-offs. Okay, you're gonna do it this way. Sure, it's easy, but it might cost more memory. You're gonna spend more time build a complex algorithm. It's faster, but again, it takes more time to build, right? Do you want a better user experience with less security, or more security with less user experience, right? So that's another thing. Next, be careful of side effects. Know your tools, right? As you can see in this picture, if it was your first time playing the Breath of the Wild, you don't know why you keep getting hit by lightning. Because again, in Breath of the Wild, they just throw you out there. They don't really teach you anything, and the reason for you getting electrocuted is you're holding something that with a metal based weapon armor or something, and in this case, why would most player have it? Because metal based weapons are strong in that game, but again, good luck when there's a thunderstorm, right? So in software engineer, there's a lot of like good tools, very powerful tools, but at the same time, you have to know what you're using, right? What are the dependencies? What are the security vulnerabilities? Is this awesome product or tool that you're using has a foundation of a weak, let's say, open source software? So that's something you have to think about, right? Because again, if let's say your application got exposed, you can't just claim, well, it's the open source that I use. No, you're still liable unless there's like a contract that you have, right? And other stuff like there's this tool, very, very strong, lets you build an app right away. However, it's harder to customize, right? So this comes with being a technology being too opinionated, gives you a lot of things out of the box. However, if you customize, it's hard. So if you go to another type of technology which is unopinionated, you need more work to make it, to build it basically, but it's easier to customize. So again, we're going back to the trade-offs, right? So I don't know if I have more. Okay, I guess maybe this is the last. Sometimes the hard parts take skill, and this enemy called Lionel, everyone freaking hates this enemy because it's too strong, too powerful, too fast, and you have to know how to execute evade, and you can just do mash buttons and kill it. You're just gonna die right away, right? Your character is gonna die. So, what are the lessons to be learned here? Well, if there are tough battles, ask a friend. So, I know that so when I was playing this game, I'm a longtime fan of Legend of Zelda, and my friends would basically ask me to finish their battles. So they would try it first, they would try it again, and then when they get frustrated, they ask for my help. It happened so many times, and it got to the point that I don't have an interest playing Legend of Zelda anymore because like I kind of know what the battles I've encountered with. To relate it with software engineering, again, just to repeat, is always know when to ask for help. It's not that I have a problem, hey, can you help me right away, right? Try to do it first, research on it, and also always know your skill level, right? Um, it's hard to try to tackle something that you don't really know. So it's something what we call you don't know what you don't know. And especially when you're helping someone, when you say, Well, just Google it. The problem is when someone is fairly new to a technology, they don't even know what to Google, right? Because they don't even know the terms, right? But you, as a newcomer, the sooner you find out what you don't know and what you know, and work on it so that you can ask for help for guidance at least, right? Again, it all boils down to being more productive as a team, not only as a student. So, asking for help the right way helps you and should also help the other person, okay? And not waste their time. And I believe this is um, another last slide, I guess. So, curiosity, right? Um, in Legend of Zelda, it rewards you if you're curious. There's a lot of things in store for you. There's a lot of shrines, a lot of Korok seeds that you can find, and the total of them in the next slide is they have like 120 hidden shrines, different puzzles. There's combat, and there's like really puzzle based, and 900 hidden Korok seeds. So that's a lot, right? So we we have to stay curious, right? And not only that, don't forget that we have to go wide as a generalist, right? We have to know a bit of like, let's say I want to be back end developer, meaning I just stay on the server side and logic, but you have to know user interface, so you kind of know how to structure your data. You want to know security so that you know how to prevent any attacks, right? You want to know how to communicate so you know how to work with your other back end developer, and a lot of other stuff, right? So you want to be a generalist and at the same time specialist on one part. And as we relate it back to Legend of Zelda, so it's like that as well. You could be good at solving brain puzzles, but you have to know how to do some combat as well, right? You could be best at combat, but not best at puzzle, but you can do both, right? Same thing with when you're at work. You have to at least specialize on one thing. So in my case, it's, I could say, fortunate and unfortunate at the same time, where I kind of wanna don't wanna do authentication all the time because I know it's such a pain. However, whenever I go into a team, it looks like I'm always the one who knows more, but not, again, not an expert, but I know more, and still, so I get to be put at that place. So it's kind of like a double edge, right? For me, that's only my experience. But then again, don't forget to be generalist and also specialize. Why? So especially for those looking for jobs. So let's say you do data structures and algorithms, right? And you just focus on that one. Sure, that's good, but you're just specializing on one thing. How about the other parts? Can you build an app? Have you built an app with a user interface? Have you collaborated with someone? Have you been communicating with someone else? Have you been collaborating? How is your communication skills, right? And do you know the current technologies, right? Do you know FPS, right? Do you know OWASP, right? Those kind of things, right? So try to be updated with current technology from time to time, again, and while focusing on what you really want. Okay, I don't have a good ending because I just spun it up like very quickly. So if you guys have questions, um, especially if you have like, how can I do something like that? Maybe I can just guide you, right? So, questions? Have you played Legend of Zelda?
I like the Legend of Zelda concept. It was really good to learn about how you incorporated your information about technology with a game that's more applicable to its its audience, and I feel like I learned a lot that way.
Cool, cool. Because for me, as much as I like to play, but as we go focus more on our careers, we get less time. I try my best. I hope everyone unlocks this on their brain that whenever you're doing something fun, there's a high chance you could put an analogy with what you really want in your career. So, like for me, I like to play games even though I don't have much time. But when I play, I try to at least analyze that. Hey, this is related to this somehow, and that's fun too for me, I guess. Right? Any more questions, guys?
Um, could we gamify the software engineer? so we can have more fun for doing our career.
I'm a big advocate of gamification. I really hope there's like a well structured way to gamify everything. Right now, what's good is all the basic stuff. There's a lot of gamification. In what sense? Okay, you get a badge, you get stars, you get more audience stuff like that. And then you get check marks, you get badge, you get certification. So that kind of is gamified already. But you with your question as well, I think what I look forward is that hopefully would be built is there's a lot of intermediate levels that there's no gamification yet, right? And I know it's hard because even like tutorials, if you think about it, there's a lot of tutorials about new stuff, beginner level. Well, once you want to go intermediate, there's like less stuff to find already, right? Um, I don't know if I really answered the question, but it's like I love gamification basically. I love those mini badges, even though sometimes they're worth it or sometimes they're not, right?
Clark, this is a question for you and for other people here. What could be some of the benefits in business for using a gamification approach?
And
So,
before you answer that,
uh,
can you also explain a little bit what gamification
oh,
means?
cool. So, I don't know the correct definition, but for me, what I understand, gamification is a way for you to learn something while you're like playing a game, having fun. An example of this, I know there's a site called Code Combat. Let me quickly pull that up. Code Combat teaches young kids to learn Python or JavaScript, and let's see, learn JavaScript, and then you can basically play a game like an RPG. And while I'm trying to load that, let's see. I think I'm loading it. Hold on. Can you see this website?
Straightforward. I know a gamification example is like typing game. You learn how to type English words by playing a game, and if you spell a correct English game, you will
Not a
kill
problem.
a zombie or alien.
Yeah. So with that as well, there's another famous one that I worked before, but
Uh,
I'm not.
Clark,
Go ahead.
we're not seeing the website.
Oh, okay. I was seeing the full screen, so let me remove that.
No, I think because I share my screen.
Oh, okay. So never mind.
Do you wanna share your screen?
Do I still have time? It's fine. We can cut off and not show this anymore. Um,
You've got a minute.
okay, so sure. Let me quickly share it back.
So, I
So
stop my sharing.
so is okay here.
Okay, yeah.
So code combat, and I'll load up the other one. Flexbox zombies, I think. Um, and while I'm loading this, your question, Morgan, again was business. Again, can you repeat that?
Yes, what are some of the business applications for using gamification in technology?
Mm. When you say business applications, is
There's no firewall for stupid people who will click on anything. So one of the things they found is that
Yeah,
when they
this is one.
yeah. So
okay,
go ahead. Yeah.
well, it's just that when they do awareness training, what often happens is that people actually start clicking more and doing what they don't want them to do. So how can they?
So yeah, so now it makes sense. So let's say gamification. Will just top of my mind. Maybe we can give someone badges on how many times they have avoided not clicking a spam, right? And give them a badge or whatever.